The cameras might have been rolling outside, but this wasn't television anymore. This was raw reality. Inside a packed Flagstaff courtroom, years of fractured promises, festering resentment, and unspoken betrayals were dragged into the open. Christine's voice trembled with truth. Janelle's binder bulged with evidence, dates, receipts, proof. Robin's tears hovered somewhere between defense and confession. And in the center, Kody Brown, once the self-pointed glue holding it all together, now sat powerless, watching the pieces of his family crumble under the strain of custody battles, inheritance disputes, and accusations that could never be taken back. The air outside had been cold and sharp, but inside it was heavier, almost electric. Satellite trucks lined the street. Reporters waited with microphones like drawn weapons. Locals, diehard Sister Wives fans, and paparazzi crowded the entrance, jostling for position. Then, the heavy courthouse doors groaned open. Kody entered, not the smirking polygamist America knew, but a man walking toward judgment. His curls framed a face stripped of bravado. His eyes were fixed straight ahead. Robin trailed a step behind, clutching a black folder to her chest like a life raft, her face pale under the fluorescent lights. On the opposite side of the room, Christine sat rigid, her hands laced tightly in her lap, dressed in black and white like she was suiting up for battle, not for television. Beside her, Janelle kept her grip on a thick binder marked in bold red letters: custody and estate. Every page inside had been handled so many times the edges curled. When the clerk called for order, whispers evaporated. "All rise," she commanded, and the judge, an older man with silver hair and the weary patience of someone who's heard every kind of family war and toward. Even he paused for a moment, recognizing that this wasn't just another divorce case. This was the Browns, and their private fractures were about to go public. The gavel cracked like a gunshot. "Be seated," the judge said, his voice steady but weighted. Kody's lawyer leaned in to whisper something urgent. Robin reached for Kody's arm, but he pulled away without a glance. Across the aisle, Christine's attorney, a tall .com man who didn't waste time, rose to speak. "Your Honor," he began, his tone polite but sharp as a blade. "This case is not merely about dividing property or negotiating custody. This case is about years of emotional abandonment, broken promises, and decisions that fractured a family beyond repair. We are here to protect the children, those caught in the middle, and to ensure they have stability, safety, and peace." Christine's hands gripped the edge of the table. Her lawyer continued. "She entered this marriage with faith in the principle of plural love. She gave her time, her labor, her devotion. What she received was the steady erosion of her place in the family, both emotionally and financially. We will present evidence, dates, bank statements, testimony that will prove Mr. Brown shifted his focus, his resources, and his affection to one household, to the detriment of the others." Kody's jaw locked. The attorney recited the specifics missed: birthdays, canceled trips, unbuilt dream homes. Christine's quiet pleas for him to attend school events, dismissed for other plans. Life-changing family decisions made without her knowledge. When Christine finally leaned toward the microphone, her voice was low but unwavering. "I hoped that, even if it wasn't perfect, we would come together for the children's sake. But over time, I realized I was raising them alone while my husband built another life. I stayed for the children, but it destroyed me. Okay? And it destroyed them." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Janelle's lawyer rose, her gaze steady. "My client's story echoes much of what you've heard. She too raised her children largely alone, without financial support, without emotional presence. She endured neglect, believing reconciliation was possible. It never came." Janelle's voice was quieter, but the weight behind it was unmistakable. "There were weeks, sometimes longer, when I didn't see him. Not because of work, not because of emergencies, but because he chose to be somewhere else. I stopped expecting him to be part of our lives." Christine's lawyer stepped back to the podium. Your Honor, this is not an isolated lapse. This is a pattern of choosing one home, one wife over the others. A pattern that left children feeling abandoned and wives feeling disposable. In the gallery, some of the Brown children shifted uncomfortably. Some refused to meet. Their father's eyes, the attorney placed a stack of documents on the judge's bench. Text messages, emails, bank records. These will show that while my clients struggled to cover basic expenses, Mr. Brown purchased high-ticket items and property for Mrs. Robin Brown's household. The courtroom didn't move. The trial had only just begun, but already the truth was cutting deeper than anyone expected. Christine's lawyer didn't soften his words. We will show this court that these transfers didn't just create an impossible imbalance. They resulted in the emotional and financial abandonment of my clients and their children. The judge said nothing, but the deliberate way he turned each page told its own story. One by one, the papers whispered their damning truths. The gavel came down not with a verdict, but with a signal. Continue. Christine exhaled slowly, relief and exhaustion mingling in her posture. Janelle straightened, eyes set forward. This was only the beginning, but for the first time in years, someone with the power to act was actually listening. Across the room, Kody leaned toward Robin. She whispered something soft. Quick, but his expression stayed rigid. He knew his turn was coming, and when it did, the storm would break. The judge's gaze shifted. Mrs. Robin Brown, please take the stand. For a heartbeat, Robin didn't move. Her fingers clenched her black folder so tightly the pages inside bent at the edges. At last, she rose, her long skirt swaying with each heavy step toward the witness chair. A fleeting glance toward Kody earned her only a restrained, nodless comfort, more expectation. The bailiff stepped forward. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I do. Her attorney, crisp in a tailored navy suit, approached slowly. Mrs. Brown, I know this is difficult, but in your own words, who is Kody Brown? Up. Robin inhaled deeply. He's not perfect, she began, her voice wavering. But he's a good man, a good father. He's made mistakes, we all have, but his heart has always been in the right place. She looked toward the judge. For years, we've been attacked for living differently. People see a TV show, a lifestyle to mock, but they don't see the late nights he spent talking to the kids, or the hours he drove just to make it to a school event. Christine's lawyer shifted in his seat, but Robin's attorney pressed forward. You've heard accusations today about favoritism, financial imbalance, neglect. How do you respond to that? Robin's lips pressed together before she answered. It wasn't favoritism, was survival. When I legally married Kody, it was to protect the family. One home had to have legal standing in case something happened. It wasn't about taking from anyone, but it turned into this. A tear broke loose, trailing down her cheek. People assumed I wanted to push Christine and Janelle aside. That wasn't true. I wanted us to be a team, but the world and even parts of this family made that impossible. Christine's jaw tightened. Janelle's hands flexed around the red binder in her lap. Robin's voice cracked as she addressed the judge directly. They think he abandoned them, but I know. He's been trying to make things right. The stress, the guilt, it's breaking him too. But no one wants to see that. It's easier to make him the villain. A few murmurs rippled through the gallery, silenced instantly by the bailiff's glare. Then Christine's attorney rose, his tone controlled but edged with steel. Mrs. Brown, you claim your marriage was for the family's protection. Then why, after becoming his legal wife, did houses, property, and vehicles, some from other households, end up in your name? Robin's eyes widened. That wasn't my decision alone. Kody and I agreed for legal reasons. The lawyer stepped closer. Legal reasons. Or consolidating power. No, that's not right. Robin's voice rose. He slid a thick stack of papers toward her. These deeds, sales records, and account transfers all within 2 years. Of your marriage show properties from Christine and Janelle's households being moved under accounts connected to you. Explain that. Robin's hands shook, because Kody told me it was safest, and I trusted my husband. The room was silent but for the hum of the overhead lights. Christine's stillness held a spark of vindication. Janelle didn't even glance her way. Robin's lawyer interjected quickly. Your Honor, my client acted on advice she believed to be in the family's best interest. She's not a financial expert. She followed her husband's lead. But the atmosphere had shifted. Emotion had been pierced by fact. Robin's voice softened. Maybe I didn't take their homes, but I did take something, their trust, and I don't know how to give it back. The judge leaned forward. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You may step down. She returned to her seat, avoiding Christine in Janelle's eyes. Her hands trembled as she set the black folder on the table. Kody whispered to her, but she gave only a faint nod. The judge turned to the next phase. We will now address custody matters involving the minor children of Mr. Brown and the plaintiffs. The tension sharpened. This was no longer about money, property, or broken trust. This was about children, and that battle would cut the deepest. Janelle's lawyer rose, walking to the center with quiet confidence. Her voice was steady, her evidence ready. Your Honor, my client has been the primary caregiver for most of her children's lives. The cameras outside didn't matter here. It wasn't television, it was raw reality. Christine's lawyer spoke first, laying out the case. This arrangement created an unsustainable imbalance, leaving my clients and their children emotionally and financially abandoned. The judge listened in silence, slowly turning the pages before him. His gavel tapped once, not a decision, but permission to continue. Christine lowered her eyes, relief softening her face. Janelle straightened, determined. For the first time in years, someone with the power to change things was listening. Across the room, Kody leaned toward Robin, who whispered something into his ear. His jaw tightened. He knew his turn was coming. Mrs. Robin Brown, please take the stand, the judge said. Robin froze, clutching a black folder. After a long breath, she rose, her skirt brushing the floor with each heavy step. She glanced at Kody. His nod was one of anticipation, not comfort. The bailiff administered the oath. I do, she said softly. Her attorney approached. Mrs. Brown, tell the court about your husband. In your own words, who is Kody Brown? Robin's eyes shone under the courtroom lights. Kody isn't perfect, she began, voice trembling. But he's a good man, a good father. We've been attacked for years for living differently. People see a TV show, not the nights he stays up talking to the kids or drives hours for their events. Her lawyer pressed on. You've heard accusations of favoritism, financial imbalance, neglect. How do you respond? It's not favoritism, she said. It's survival. When I married Kody legally, it was to protect the family, so at least one home had lawful protection. I never wanted to replace Christine or Janelle. I wanted us united. But the world and even parts of this family made that impossible. Tears streaked her cheek. I know they think he abandoned them, but he's been trying to make things right. It's breaking him. It's easier to make him the villain. Christine's lawyer stood. Mrs. Brown, if it was about protection, why did assets, homes, cars, even properties from other households move into your name after the marriage? Robin's hands shook. That wasn't just me. Kody and I agreed. It was for legal reasons. The lawyer slid documents. Across the stand, public records. Transfers, sales, refinances, all tied to you within 2 years of your marriage. Why? Robin stared at the papers. 'Cause I trusted my husband. The room was silent. Christine sat still, a flicker of vindication in her eyes. Janelle wouldn't look at Robin, her lawyer cut in. She acted in what she believed was the family's best interest. She is not a financial expert. Robin's voice softened. Maybe I didn't steal their money, but I stole their trust. And I don't know how to get it back. The judge dismissed her. She avoided Christine and Janelle's eyes as she sat, her hands trembling on the folder. Kody leaned in, whispered, "Something." She barely nodded. The judge's tone turned heavier. "We will now address custody matters." The room tightened. This wasn't about property anymore. It was about the children. Janelle's lawyer stepped forward with quiet confidence. "Your Honor, my client has raised her children nearly alone for years. Today, we ask the court to protect their stability, safety, and future." The fight was far from over. But the focus had shifted to what would hurt most: the fate of the children.